Oh,
How,
that
how
would
do
break
you?
his heart.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of times people are committing suicide because they don't feel like they're loved anymore, cared about, and that they're thrown to the side. That's causing a lot of people sadness.
Well, a friend of mine says that we have an outreach program in America for gay youth. It's
Good.
called Pedophiles.
Oh, dear.
Because what happens is that kids are afraid to go home and talk about that I think I might be gay for fear that, that they'll be rejected. And
Yeah.
so they go out and then they're vulnerable on the street.
Talk to other guys
That-
about it. And,
right.
and oh, dear Lord, that's
I did
terrible
a
thought.
session with a man who told his father, he said, that coach that used to take me out of town
Yeah, yeah,
for weekends, he was sexually abusing me.
right.
And the father said, "Oh, thank God." And I said, "Really, that's an unusual response." And he said, he was only being sexually abused. I thought he was a faggot. And so,
Oh, my God, you're kidding.
no, well, so no wonder the kid didn't tell him.
Oh, he thought he was a faggot.
Sure, if he came back and said, "Well, Dad, that coach that I respected and was spending time with me,
We were having sex.
this guy had sex with me," that the father was going to freak out, so he didn't tell him.
Oh, my God, that's terrible. Think
And that's-
about that.
And that's one reason that people, even if they don't have the biblical abomination thing, they'll say as well, they're recruiting children.
Oh, did you hear the new commercial that's on TV?
I don't know which one.
Oh my God! It says this man and woman are sitting there, and you could just tell by this couple that they're just hating. They're just hating the gays really bad. You could just feel it from them. I can. It said like I'm really sick looking, and the guy's like, "Oh yeah, did you hear about Wisconsin? They're teaching teaching your children how to be gay." This is what is on TV. This is the most radical, sickening, horrifying thing I've ever seen in my life. That to think that some school is teaching your kid to be gay. It's outrageous. That's not happening in America. That's not happening.
Yeah, so it's just a lie.
Whoever they are full of BS. Jane's view, BS, I'm saying.
Yeah,
It's
so
BS.
so they
Nobody's teaching kids to be gay.
well, and you don't need to. Any culture,
You're born that way usually, or else, or something in your life has happened that you choose to be that way.
well, all the research says that regardless of what kind of a culture you come from, there's gay people.
Well, yeah, every culture.
Yeah, whether you're open to it or whether it's repressive, if people just chose to be gay, I'd say, well, somebody who lives in a country where you
Yeah.
can be beheaded for it,
Yeah.
I
You're
can't
not going to
see.
choose.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
You're going to be too scared you'd be dead.
Yeah. So I think part of what happens is, and the reason I don't use the word homosexual abuse when I'm talking about an adult having sex with a child of the same sex, a couple of reasons. One is that it implies that the adult is gay. And the majority
But
of people.
they're heterosexuals, most of
Well,
them.
that's right. The majority of people who have sex with children
Yes, are
have sex
heterosexuals.
with the other sex and have
their
adult
women.
partners.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
And so I reserve the term homosexual abuse for somebody who gets beat up because they're gay.
Right. That's
So, yeah.
what I agree with you. I
Okay.
agree full-heartedly with that statement. Because that's the way it is.
In my book on sexual abuse in the military, Honor Betrayed,
love that book.
we did that show on that, is that I've had people say, well, these women that are reporting that they get sexually assaulted, that what do you expect if you let women in the military? And say, well, when there were no women in the military, there were also men being sexually assaulted. Oh, well,
Exactly.
those are the gays.
Yeah, but they're not.
Right, because
You
sexual...
did a study on
yes,
it.
right. Sexual assault is about power, not about sex. So if you wanted to
Yeah.
get rid of sexual assault, really what you'd get rid of is the heterosexuals.
Exactly, because they're fighting for power and to dominate. It's like to me. It's like when you have a pack of dogs,
Yeah.
Okay.
Keep going.
and you have one dog that's usually the alpha.
Yeah.
If you're an alpha, and you're
Well, if you're talking about the alpha male humping,
Yeah,
that
that's what
it's
I'm
not
talking.
it's not about
And
sex.
it's not
about power.
sex. It's just about power.
Right, yeah.
Even in animals'
Right.
life. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I thank you.
Yes.
You helped me out with that
Yeah.
one.
Well, it helps.
I
have
knew
a-
where I was going, but I
yeah.
couldn't get there. You know, I knew what it was about. I had in my mind.
Yeah.
At least you helped me there. Thank
Well,
you.
it helps to have a veterinarian for a while.
Yeah, really.
All right, so we've got the biblical thing, which most people don't understand, the confusion of child sexual abuse and homosexuality. And so all of these things are really emotional issues.
Thank God, yes.
And so then people don't really want to pay attention because they have such a visceral
They
response to
freeze.
this. And the reason that people are so anxious to get this in the Constitution is because then it'll be harder to change, because all of the research says the younger somebody is, the less interested they are in whether people are gay or not.
Well, of course they're not.
Okay, like don't ask, don't tell.
Yeah.
The big prediction was, well, when that's thrown out, no one will enlist and the military will fall apart. and-
But that didn't happen, did it?
no.
Nothing
and-
happened at all.
Yeah, and so people want to get this in the Constitution, so it'll be harder to change because they know that younger voters don't care.
No, they don't care. I don't care. I think everybody should be happy and love one another. If they want to get married and be happy and enjoy life and cook a good meal. I mean, and be content with each other, whether you're gay or straight or whatever you are.
Well, I think it's interesting that in Mexico and Germany, they were talking about having time-limited marriage licenses.
Oh, okay. Time.
So that which is interesting because Mexico is a Catholic country.
Yeah.
And what they were saying basically is that, let's acknowledge the percentage of people that get divorced.
Right.
And so instead of having a divorce, what would happen is your marriage license would expire.
Expire.
And then you wouldn't be married anymore.
Love it.
Then you could re-up if you wanted
Re-up.
to for another 5 years, like enlisting
Like
in the
kind of
military.
a military
Right.
stint
Exactly.
in the military.
Which is an interesting idea to
That's a
me
good
because
idea.
I watch couples over time, and about every 5 years,
Yeah.
they have to renegotiate their marriage contract.
Well,
Because,
Probably.
I mean, think about the difference between,
isn't a
you know,
7-year itch?
well, what happens is that 7-year itch is that they didn't renegotiate
At 5.
at 5,
I get
and
it.
so they're operating under an obsolete contract.
Ah, that's probably
Okay.
sensible. That makes
Okay.
sense. Yeah.
And see, most people don't negotiate their original contract very openly,
No, of course
so
not.
they do a horrible job renegotiating it. Right.
Right.
So, like couples will come to me. They're thinking about getting married, and I say, "Are you thinking about having kids?" Yeah. And I say, "Oh," and I slide them each a piece of paper, and I just say, "Write the number of kids that you think you'd like to have on it."
Yeah.
And I get it, and I go, "Oh, 2 and 7.
2 and 7.
Now, how are you going to compromise on that one?"
Oh, man.
And what had happened is they had both said to each other, "Well, we want to have a family, of course,"
Right.
and nobody defined family.
Oh, so she thought 7 would be beautiful,
Yeah,
and
well-
he thought 2?
Right, because he said, "Well, that's what family is." He said,
Oh, yeah,
7 is
7
a
is-
herd."
It's a herd.
Yeah, and she said, "Well, 2, that's not a family."
Perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, 2's a family.
Okay. So so people will come
2
in.
people are a family, too.
Well, she meant. See, that's the thing is, what does family mean?
Well, 2 people.
What he said and what she said is different. You would think they would have discussed that.
You would have thought before they're going
Yeah.
to get married.
You'd think so. All right. So then now go down 5 years down the road, and let's say they have 2 kids.
Yeah.
All right. So
Yeah.
she thinks, well, we fulfilled our agreement.
We got our family.
Yeah. And he's like, well, when are you getting pregnant again?
Yeah, God.
Okay. Well, I'm not. Well, what do you mean? We said we were going to have a family. And
Yeah.
that's when they come to see me because he has this sense of betrayal. Is we had this deal,
Oh, wow.
and now she's backing out on
Back
it.
it out.
Okay.
She's backing out.
Okay. So about every 5 years, and people will say to me, as sometimes when I meet with them, the first session, they'll say, what's your training and stuff, and they'll say, well, since you're a licensed marriage and family therapist, how many times have you been married? And I say, oh, about 5, and they go, really? And I say, oh, all to the same woman.
Oh, I love it.
But,
15 years,
yeah,
right?
29 years. About
29 years.
every 5 years.
Yep. You
We've
re-up.
had to rethink it, okay? Because there's a big difference between, okay, we're
Oh,
We're
God,
in
yeah.
college.
Oh, yeah.
We have no titles, no status, no money.
Yeah,
you
right,
know.
yeah.
We're sleeping in a twin bed.
Right,
Okay, and then being married to somebody who's president of the Minnesota Veterinary Association and
Right.
owns a, her own practice,
Right,
and
right.
that's a different relationship.
Right.
And we have to. How are we going to deal with that?
Exactly. That's true.
Okay, and to make that an overt discussion.
That's a very good idea. That's a good idea. Everybody, re-up every 5 years.
Or get out.
Or get out.
Yeah. And marriage to me is, because I'm
I
a
love it.
psychologist,
love
is a psychological state, not just a legal state.
Well, it should be
Well, yeah.
psychological.
I had these two couples came, and two of the people had been married to each other, and then divorced, and then they married these new people. Okay, and all four of them came to see me
Oh my gosh.
because
Oh,
the
wow.
new spouses said, "We don't think these two are divorced."
What?
They have a piece of paper that says they're divorced, but they're not
What?
psychologically divorced. Like if they have a success or something,
Right.
they call each other. They don't call
They don't
their
call
current
the
partner.
current partner. You're kidding.
Or if
well,
they have
that's
a
probably
problem.
true. I never thought of that.
Yeah. And so what I did was marriage counseling
Yeah.
for the divorced couple to decide if they were really married,
Yeah.
and in which case maybe they ought to divorce their current spouses and remarry,
Oh my gosh.
or if they ought to divorce. Really divorce.
Divorce,
not-
divorce.
Yeah. And so we worked on things, and basically what they were holding on to is the marriage they thought they ought to have, not the marriage they actually had.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, but the dream marriage.
Dream marriage.
Yeah.
Well, we all probably have dream
Of course,
marriages.
I always do. When I work with a couple, I'll say, "How long have you been married?" Blah blah. And I say, "When did you first realize it wasn't going to be the marriage you thought it was going to be?" Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's pretty much everybody, right?
Sure. Well, I had one of my young relatives. He said, "I can't wait to get married," and I said, "How come?" And he goes, "Well, the benefits." And I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, you can have sex anytime you want." And I said, "Oh, really? That's what being married is?"
That's what
"Oh,
being married
yeah,
is?
Yeah. So I'm going to go back now that he's been married a few years and ask him, "How's
ask
that
him,
working out
yeah,
for you?"
How's that working out for you? I love it.
So this couple that was divorced
that's
legally but psychologically still married, you can see where that's a problem. What we did is they invited people who had been to their wedding, and they
Yeah.
went back to the church and they reversed it. They said the vows, and they
Right.
said, "I release you from these vows."
Oh, that was cool.
And they gave each other back the rings,
They should have a big party.
and they had a big party. Exactly, right.
Did you?
Hmm.
I see this woman the other day, a couple months ago, was on TV, and she had a great big sign in the back of her car, and she's
Hmm.
driving down the road, and that top's down, and her hair's flying, and she's smiling
Hmm.
and driving. The back of it says, "Congratulations on your divorce, on my divorce."
Yes, we have rituals for all kinds of things.
Yeah, wait out divorce.
But we ought to have one for divorce because it makes it real for the person then.
Well, then it would make it more real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
And-
then it'd be permanent, like that really happened.
Right. And it also then you could get support instead of, you get married, you have all these
right.
people who come together and support you.
Right.
But then when you get divorced, you open up
Nobody-
this piece of paper at home and it's like, "Oh, well, I guess now I'm divorced."
Yeah, it's it. There's no support.
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
Because, we don't know what we're supposed to do.
No, yeah, we should celebrate. Everybody celebrate if you get divorced.
Well, particularly, if
And let the gays get married, by the way.
well, people are, again, that's the
cares?
psychological,
Do you think
same-sex
they
couple.
should be able to get married?
Yeah, I think that.
I mean, in America today, don't you think that we're 2012, almost 2013?
Yeah, I think that people are marrying from a psychological standpoint anyway.
Not only that, but let me ask you this: since you're my doctor now, see, he's my doctor now.